Will come to order. We are now holding our regularly scheduled meeting and our final meeting for the calendar year 2008. At this time, we'll call the December 23rd meeting to order, and we will call on Father Roger Sargent, St. Mark's Anglican Church, to give the invocation, and then our County Administrator Joe Baird would give the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty and most merciful God, the fountain of all wisdom, whose statutes are good and gracious, and whose law is truth, we beseech thee so to guide and bless the just works of the Commissioners of Indian River County, and that it may ordain for our governance. Grant and bless each of them in your wisdom and understanding of thought to impartially administer, and in truth as they seek to increase the betterment for the lives and welfare of all the citizens of this, our beloved county. Let us also remember those who are suffering and less fortunate this day, and bring them comfort, O God, and bless and keep and protect all those now serving in our nation's highest treasure, the men and women in the uniform of this country. May God bless the United States of America, our county and her citizens, and the commissioners for all the days of the year. All this we ask through the blessings of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time we have the presentation by Brad Browner with the today's Director of Indian River County Human Services regarding Children's Services Advisory Committee. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Brad Bernauer, Director of Human Services and Children's Services Advisory Committee. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity for this brief presentation on the Children's Services Advisory Committee. This committee is comprised of 5 ex officio members, 5 appointed members, and 2 at-large members. Chair currently is Miranda Swanson, as Administrator for the Department of Health. Additionally, there exists a Needs Assessment Subcommittee. This committee was charged with completing the countywide needs assessment in November of 2006. The chair for this committee is Karen Deagle, and her committee utilizes the needs assessment to determine the specific focus areas for each grant year. The grant review subcommittee utilizes these focus areas when they're making their recommendations for funding agencies and programs. The chair of this subcommittee is Kip Jacoby, and he'll be introducing our speaker for today.
Welcome, Mr. Jacoby.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be here. As Brad indicated, I serve as your grant subcommittee chair and have been involved in children's services for a number of years. As you may be aware, that the committee is charged with oversight of a small portion of the county budget, and in that vein, we review a number of agencies early in the year in getting ready for the budgeting process, and whittle those agencies down to fulfill your budgetary constraints and make recommendations to you where you ultimately approve those recommendations. And this year, the county is funding 13 agencies or 19 programs for children's services and their families. And it's our goal over the next few months to showcase some of these programs before you so that you can become more aware of those individual programs and to see what really vital services these agencies are providing to the county and the citizens of the county. So it's my pleasure, with no further delay, to introduce one of these very excellent agencies in our community, Pam King, who's the Executive Director of Child Care Resources. Pam?
Welcome, Ms. King.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the work of Child Care Resources and our relationship with the Children's Services Advisory Committee. The mission of Child Care Resources is to ensure the availability and affordability of high-quality childhood and family support programs for children of income-eligible working families in Indian River County. The fact is that many Indian River County children are born into families of limited financial means. Parents must work, but their options for child care are few, especially quality options they can afford. Poor quality early care puts children at risk at falling behind developmentally. Children who start kindergarten behind their peers developmentally rarely catch up. They are more likely to be retained, to be arrested for violent crime, to become teen parents, and to drop out of high school. It is much easier to prevent a problem than to fix a problem. I should have said it's cheaper too. Child Care Resources works in partnership with the county, the United Way, individual donors, various organizations, for-profit and non-profit child care facilities, and businesses in our community. The entire community benefits when our children start school ready to learn. It has worked so well that the entire community has stepped up to make these services available. Child Care Resources currently serves 104 Indian River County children and their families. Our children range in age from 8 weeks to 5 years. They leave us when they go to kindergarten. All of our parents work full-time or go to school full-time or some combination of the two that adds up to full-time. These parents earn a little too much to qualify for other subsidized child care programs, but they still struggle to make ends meet. For example, a single parent with one child who earns $21,000 annually would not be eligible for services elsewhere. If you are a single parent with one child and make $21,000 annually, you make too much money to qualify for services elsewhere. That's why Child Care Resources exists. During the last 14 years, we've served over 900 Indian River County children and their families. We have increased the number of children entering kindergarten with school readiness skills by providing opportunities for affordable, high-quality early care and preschool. We have enhanced family stability by providing affordable access to licensed mental health professionals. And what if our partnership with the CSAC did not exist? These children would not have access to quality early care and preschool without our partnership with the Children's Services Advisory Committee. A significant number of these children would not enter kindergarten school ready. Some of these children would be left in the care of unqualified people. Child Care Resources graduates typically enter kindergarten with school readiness on a par or even slightly above average as compared with the general population. This is remarkable considering the at-risk situations from which these children come. Child Care Resources continues to train and mentor area child care facilities and preschools in the latest in early education best practices. And beginning in 2007, we started hosting a professional development series called the Excellence in Early Education Seminars. To date, more than 400 area educators have attended these programs featuring nationally known education experts. In addition, our families receive training in budgeting, nutrition, parenting, and a wide variety of helpful topics. Our parents receive one-on-one guidance, information, and referral services. We also help with children's clothing, Christmas gifts, and school supplies for children going to kindergarten. I sincerely thank you for your continuing support of child care resources. On behalf of the children and the families in our program, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions, Commissioners? Thank you, Ms. King. Thank you very much for
Thank
all
you.
that you've done this for quite a while.
I personally have done it for 4 years.
Yeah,
I love it.
and your passion for the job that you have at hand is one that we're thankful to have the commitment of individuals like you and those that are on the CCCR.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Next, Commissioners, we have the approval of the minutes for the special call meeting held November 21st, 2008.
Move approval.
Got a motion from Commissioner Fletcher. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner O'Brien. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. We have the informational agenda, and then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anything anybody would like to have pulled from the consent agenda?
I have, I'd like to pull 3 items, 8B, 8J, and 8L.
I heard the first two, the last two. What was the first one?
8B,
As in boy?
yep, and
Okay.
8J and 8L.
We have 8B, J, and L. Is there any others?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item I,
Commissioners, anything else? I'll entertain a
approval of consent agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. And I have a motion from Commissioner O'Brien to approve the consent agenda as amended and seconded by Commissioner Fletcher. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, Commissioner Wheeler, item B.
Yeah, item B is appointment to committees, Mr. Chairman, and I see in the memo you sent around that you're recommending Commissioner Solari to be on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council and removing Commissioner O'Brien. And I'd like to request that Commissioner O'Brien stay on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and for several reasons. One, in the last 2 years, he's had almost perfect attendance. He's got a lot of respect from the individuals that he serves with on that council. There's about 28 or 30 members. And he's also good at being a consensus builder. He's well thought of. He's very much in tune with what's happening down there in Stewart where we meet. And also, I don't know if you're all aware, but this year the Department of Community Affairs is up for sunset. That may or may not have an effect on the council, but I think his experience would be very helpful, particularly if we had increased responsibility on the council. And the other thing is most of the counties have long-term members on there, particularly from the county aspect of it. I also asked Mike Bush if he would send me a letter about Commissioner O'Brien's participation. I'd like to read that. It's short. It says, Dear Commissioner Wheeler, this letter is reference to Commissioner Peter O'Brien's participation, performance, and attendance at the Regional Planning Council and as a member, all of which have been excellent. Over the last 2 years, Commissioner O'Brien has consistently participated in the monthly policy decisions, emerging as a leader for Indian River County and the Council. As a 2-year chairman of the Council's Budget and Personnel Committee, Commissioner O'Brien provided important leadership, guiding the Council into the black during 2 of its toughest budget years and through the construction of the new office building. Commissioner O'Brien's attendance has been near perfect, demonstrating a full commitment to his duties with the Council. The Council will miss the experience and the knowledge that he has brought to the board. But I think Peter's done a good job down there, and I'd like to see him stay on and continue to represent Indian River County. That in no way is any reflection on Commissioner Solari. I'm sure he would do a good job, but he doesn't have the experience that Commissioner O'Brien has.
Thank you. Commissioner, and I certainly do appreciate the comments, and please, if you interpreted my appointments to that based on anyone's performance, you misinterpreted. The purpose for the appointment, and I'll go through that real quick right now if that's okay, is you were vice chair, and so you had the opportunity to remain as chairman, or to perhaps be chairman. So I wanted to see to it that our county had the opportunity to, in fact, have the chairman of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council from here. But more poignantly, going directly to the appointment of Commissioner Solari. As you know, the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council is made up of individuals that have that are in city government and county government. And the only individual sitting up here that really has, in my opinion, a depth or a background in municipal government as well, because you're making decisions at that level for both municipalities and counties, is Commissioner Solari. And and if you'll notice, I have put Commissioner O'Brien as an alternate, as well as Commissioner Flesher. And what that will allow to do is to still, I encourage everybody to go down there. In fact, quite frankly, I think that Councilman Neglia was an alternate and attended all of the meetings. And I think that really set the example for where we need to be with this committee. And so to be able to draw on the only municipal experience that we have, as well as to be able to have the opportunity to have the chairperson for that council from this county, that's the rationale behind my decision. And we can agree to disagree. And I'm good with that. I cannot make those on Friday mornings. I have some conflicts that happen on Friday mornings, or I'd be on that myself. But every one of these individuals, except for myself, is either a committee member or an appointment. And of course, being chair is no ego boost to me of any kind. In the event that I have three commissioners that would like to override my decision, I will humbly, abide by that and understand where my authority sits here. Just by I get it from my colleagues. So everything you said is true, and it was not, my decision was not based on any performance of Commissioner O'Brien. It was the opportunity to have some municipal experience and the county's vision and insight, to have the opportunity to have that presented through Commissioner Solari. And I truly do hope that Commissioner O'Brien will continue to be involved, and I hope that Commissioner Flesher, too, will be able to step up as an alternative and be able to make it down to these meetings.
Well, I might add, too, for those that don't know, but we've got two members of the county commission, and we've also got two members of the municipalities that serve on that council.
That is correct.
And but I'd like to make a motion that we leave Commissioner O'Brien on that committee,
okay,
and
well.
as the Indian River County's appointee.
Okay.
Again, I'd like to say that is not intended in any way, shape, or manner to reflect on Commissioner Solari at all. It's just that Peter's been there, he's done a good job, and he's learned the ropes. We're dealing with 4 counties down there as a whole, and I think experience in any job, but particularly down there dealing with the other 3 counties, is very important.
Well, then, in that case, what I'd like you to do is just clarify, because you made the motion to have him as the county's appointee, and unless you wanted him to replace yourself, I want you to be clear that you wanted him to replace Commissioner Solari. You talked about that, but that wasn't really a part of your motion.
Say that again.
I didn't want you to have Commissioner O'Brien replace you. You said as a county employee specifically to replace Commissioner O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that. And I'd just like to add, I appreciate the decisions you made. It's kind of like when we go to the Florida Association of County meetings and such. A lot of it is relationship building you do in those meetings, and the Regional Planning Council is very much a relationship type organization. And I do feel I have gained quite a bit of respect of the other members of it, and it does put our county in a leadership position to be able to have that respect and the relationships. And if you look at the other counties, a lot of their participants continue unless one of them is not reelected and therefore unable to serve. So there is a lot of continuity by having the same people there. You build those relationships, you build the trust, and I think a lot of positive things come out of that. So I would like to continue serving on the Regional Planning Council. And so I seconded Commissioner Wheeler's motion.
Thank you. And those points, exactly what you said about the continuity was something that I did take into account also. And of course, not knowing what the elections hold, but clearly I've appointed 2 individuals that do have 4 years ahead of them, assuming they don't do anything majorly wrong. But that continuity is exactly, exactly, kind of where my thought process was with this. And again, we have a motion on the floor. If there's any further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion fails 3-2.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner. Yes.
Before we move on, I just want to clarify, we do have, and I admire what you had to do with all the appointments. I do see that you have rather a large lion's share. You have about 15 committees to serve on. And I have 15 on the list. I think I have the Treasure Coast Homeless Coalition as well. So we'll be adding that to my list. I think we're up to 16, unless another commissioner wanted to wrangle that away from me. I do notice that the rest of the board has 11, 12, and 10 respectively. But I'm fine with that. I just wanted to add that on there.
Okay. I'm good with that. And like I said, I tried to, as best possible, give all the commissioners the opportunity to serve on the committees that they wished. And whenever I did have any kind of a conflict that I was aware of, whenever I just had requested the information back, I didn't want to just put Commissioner Solari in the situation of having to assume Commissioner Bowden's committee appointments. I wanted to give him the opportunity to, if he has a particular interest, to give him the opportunity to be able to have some committees that he may have an interest in. So I tried to be as fair as possible, and I understand that anytime you have to make a decision, you're going to step on somebody's toes. And but I think we just need to move forward. Yes, sir.
I do have one clarification. You have 4 of us listed on the Value Adjustment Board.
Yes.
And I think we only have 2.
Yeah, and I was
positions
hoping.
there?
I was hoping that perhaps the state would revisit that halfway through there. Okay. Yes, no, and we'll leave those. The 2 that are on there currently is the ones that I'd like to have left on there. That's probably an oversight. Okay. Anything else under committee appointments, Commissioner? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on the consent agenda.
So, just so the record is clear, which members are going to remain on the Value Adjustment Board and which members will not be?
That would be Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioner Flesher will be our appointees on that.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to item J. Commissioner Wheeler?
You want to do mine first? Do you want to do follow?
You had asked for item J to be pulled, so I figured that if you wanted to.
Peter had I.
Well, go ahead with yours. I've got them in the order as they were pulled.
Yeah, my question was on the request for proposals for design services for the South County Indoor Recreational Multiple Purpose Facility. I was opposed to building that facility the last 2 times it came forward. My position hasn't changed. And I see that we're not doing a design build, but design it and then apparently go out to bid. And in the tight budget years coming ahead and so on and so forth, and the money that's available for this, I know it's been budgeted. I think we may want to revisit that. And I would make a motion that we put this on hold.
Commissioners, do I have a second? That motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay.
I entertain a motion on item J.
Move staff recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Do I have a second? I'll second it. And if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Wheeler dissenting. Now we have item L. Commissioner Wheeler.
Yeah, item L is it's an informational thing for me. It's the final pay for the completion of the Turner construction for the County Administration Center. During the last few years, there's been quite a bit of controversy. Anywhere from I've heard numbers that this was costing us 50-some thousand, 80-some thousand. And in fact, I see Mr. Martin here that he spoke on this several times. And I just wanted to point out that the actual cost of the building was $27,822.65, and that we're getting back about $302,000 from what was budgeted. And in fact, Mr. Baird may be able to improve on those numbers or give it even more in depth.
Okay. Is there,
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion first before we go into the discussion on it.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner. Got a motion from Commissioner Wheeler and a second from Commissioner O'Brien to approve item L, which is the final request for the Indian River County Administration Center. And now, if there's any discussion.
Yes, I mean, I think the whole misunderstanding started with the press journal getting wrong information on saying it was $26 million, and that was a cash balance that we'd held aside, not including optional sales tax. It's no different than today when we read Russ Lemon's column on the Dodgers. His own papers reported we have a professional negotiator that both, and it's not me, and that both myself and Jim Gabbard have been at the table negotiating all this time, yet he...
Mr. Baird, if we could keep our comments to the administration.
No different than that kind of reporting.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further comments or questions, Commissioners? Just real quick, Mr. Baird, how long do you anticipate the life of this building to be able to serve the community?
We plan to have 20 to 25 years. That's why we have a shell space of about 20,000 square feet for expansion.
And my final question is it paid for after this?
Yes, we paid it. We paid using our cash balance of $26 million, and we allocated money on optional sales tax, not ad valorem tax, but optional sales tax, and it's paid for.
So the building will last us 20 to 25 years, and we don't owe anything on it after we do this.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Any further discussions, Commissioner? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have item I. Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just would like Tom Frame to come down and highlight this a little bit. This is in my mind, just a fantastic undertaking we're about to embark on. This is the energy savings audit that we've been working on, and the idea here is that by doing some improvements, increasing the efficiency of a lot of our electrical and water usage, that the savings from that will not only pay for the capital cost and installation of it, but going forward will continue to provide savings to the taxpayers over the life cycle of the fixture. So, Tom, can you just highlight a couple of things for us? I just think this is such an important thing we're doing here that we should give it a little time and highlight it some.
First of all, let me say this. Lynn Williams, our facilities manager, was the really key staff person involved in meeting with Florida Power and Light and going over the audits and whatnot. As you indicated earlier, the intent is to find some significant savings, and we identified a number of buildings where we can obtain those savings by changing out lighting fixtures. If you go to the courthouse, the libraries, the health department, a number of our older buildings, you'll find that they've got older fluorescent lighting fixtures which can be replaced both with electronic ballast and new light bulbs, which substantially reduce the power demand. And additionally, we looked at those same facilities relative to putting in lower water consumption type facilities, low flush facilities. All these combined, we're seeing now, predicated on what we're looking at approximately $85,000 a year in guaranteed savings cost if we make these improvements in these facilities. And this is just not a one-time, but this is a reoccurring saving year after year.
Right, and then Tom, if we don't hit that savings amount, FP&L picks up the difference,
That's correct. That's
so
correct.
that savings is a guaranteed.
That's correct.
And we had about a 7.5 year payback for the capital cost of all the improvements. Yeah. And then going forward, we're pocketing the $85,000 in savings. So.
I would point out that we also looked at the prospect of putting a solar facility over at the parking garage. However, as we've identified, the payback on that was approximately 50 years, and we just couldn't justify that expenditure. That might have been a better deal had there not already been power there, and we had to bring power lines in and pay a lot of fees. That would have brought those costs down. But right now, it's just not cost effective for us to include that, although we certainly explored it at both the main library, or excuse me, the parking garage at the courthouse across from the main library and the North County Library. And I suspect in years to come, those may be some options we can revisit if the cost of solar power decreases.
Well, I'd just like to acknowledge all the hard work that you and Lynn have put into this. I think it's a great step for the county. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move staff recommendation.
Got a motion from Commissioner O'Brien to move staff recommendation on consent I, and a second from Commissioner Solari. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes our consent agenda. Now we'll move on to the next item, which is public discussion items. Request to speak from Mr. Frank Zort regarding contamination at the airport. Mr. Zort, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman Leslie Davis, all commissioners, staff, and the taxpaying public. Merry Christmas to all of you. I have a little laryngitis this morning, so I'll ask that you bear with me. Thank you, Chairman Davis, for your letter to Governor Christ. My name is Frank Zork, 1695 20th Avenue, Vero Beach, Florida. I'm going to make a bold statement before I read my script here. It appears to me there's a very good chance that we're going to have in this county and city another Aaron Brockovich case. I'm referring to the movie played by Julie Roberts on hidden environmental contaminations. Please let me assure you, as a 50-year resident taxpayer,
Mr. Zort, if you get too close to that and you continue to get back,
okay.
So just kind of, if you'll stand back just a little bit, it'll be clear on TV.
Please let me assure you, as a 50-year resident taxpayer, I am aware and have much appreciation for the economic benefits of Piper aircraft to many of our people. My primary issue has been and remains federal, EPA, and Florida law statutes were ignored and seriously violated, including potential health hazards of the public. By Vero Beach and Piper aircraft, the law provides penalties and fines. My goal today is to read a quick list of prime factors and ask you to take them home, hopefully review if you have time. Call me for any questions, needed documentation or information, and then hopefully come back after in the new year, January, and discuss what the possibilities of action may be. Enhancing the economy by breaking the laws is simply not acceptable. No one or any entity is exempt from or above our laws. Did you ever get a ticket and fined for not quite stopping at a stop sign? A local woman fooling with a teenager, underage boy, got 30 years in prison. One example of environmental law enforcement is this. In the Vero Beach Press Journal, top of the morning, April 13, 2000, Miami, Florida, owner of a defunct paint company that just manufactured paint, dumping hazardous wastes. He is facing a $750,000 fine and 15 years in prison. The case was decided 40 years after occurrence. Now about environmental dangers to our citizens over the past 30 years. And every word I speak this morning is available in documented evidence of either public records or other forms of records. First, the Piper contamination case I call A. October 1978, a chemical engineer wrote his findings to Vero Beach Water Superintendent that TCE toxic chemicals in samples from Vero Beach home water above allowable levels. The letter was copied to Vero Beach City Manager. 6 months later, after this knowledge, the city manager covered the findings and labeled them confidential at a staff meeting April 2nd, 1979. This is the exact opposite of what the law requires. The water superintendent warned the city manager and employees, Florida law is mandatory, calls for mandatory public notification must be given. They ignored his advice. Both major violations and the human health hazards were ignored. July 79, the contaminated well was closed. City officials considered the drinking water issue ended. I say, no way. It has not yet ended today. The users of Vero Beach drinking water were then and are yet today not informed that the contamination was in city water, not just from the discovery date of October 78 to the closing of the well 6 months later. But there is no record of looking at the time before the initial findings by the chemical engineer, a 24-month period prior, since Piper put into use of a new 5,000-gallon TCE storage tank found to be leaking TCE, admitted by Piper. Technical details are missing. May 1995, a closed-door secret meeting was held by the City of Vero and Piper to work out Piper's need. Everything pertains to Piper in what I'm saying here. And what was done, the cost was because of their problem with the contamination that they caused. So the meeting was held to determine acceptable cleanup plans with the federal government and EPA. The meeting was declared illegal, major law violations, by an appeal court which ordered a cure meeting. The cure meeting was tried by the city and it failed. So there's been no cure of the illegal actions that they held at their secret meeting in May 1995. So I question the validity today of any agreement made at the illegal secret meetings, because they never cured the law-breaking violations. The above illegal closed meetings were denied with a fight by the city over 3 years, denying my charge of violating Florida Sunshine Law. This cost the city, yet unofficial, about $800,000. This all involved the need of Piper to get an agreement with the government. Taxpayers paid for Piper's problem. Again, defenses of city violating sunshine laws were a total loss of case overseen by our taxpayer state attorney, Bruce Colton. At what cost to us? Finally, I have pending since April 2008, 9 months ago, a complaint with 65 documents of support to the Department of Environmental Protection. No rejection of my part, of any part of the complaint. Rejections usually come within a few weeks. We await this outcome. Please read Press Journal's editorial, December 18th, Portrait of Inefficiency, which describes in great detail the problems our environmental agencies have had enforcing the law-breaking of environmental cases. So I call Piper contamination case number B. Case B is the South Gifford Road landfill project, and the county is hiring assistance from Geosyntec consultant in Jacksonville. Already paid nearly $3 million. Has me sort of in shock. Your consultant, Geosyntec, wrote a report in August 2003 stating, and I quote, a local business reports that a 1963 F600 green flatbed truck was used for the purpose of transporting and disposing drums of waste from a nearby aircraft manufacturer, giving no name. Is there more than one aircraft manufacturer on our airport? No. These drums were recurrent. This is a continuation of a quote from their report to the county. These drums were recurrently deposited in or drained in the area along South Gifford Road during the operational period of the landfill, and may be the source of the groundwater plumes emanating from this area. End quote. I ask, your consultant thinks it may be, and doing nothing about it smacks in the face of dishonesty. Who is your consultant really working for? Why this report was never picked up by anyone in our system? Who was to read and act on these reports? Why didn't Geosyntec take an aggressive attempt to find out more? We have in addition to the Geosyntec statements, we have a second witness that more than matches the Geosyntec. If you have not read the statement from Alan Stadnick, a native of Vero Beach, a prior Piper employee, and a successful business owner, please do so soon. Does it not appear that it's near certainty that we the taxpayers have been paying, I'm not sure the amount, it's several $1 million, to clean another Piper toxic chemical spill, only this time by intentional act? It is true that Piper's toxic chemical was found is it true that Piper's toxic chemical was also found in Gifford homes nearby? Again, I plead with you, only a special prosecutor and out-of-town grand jury can get to the bottom of all the above. Please help to get one. Lastly, I would ask that you consider demanding that Piper pay the county back what you have spent cleaning up their apparent, again, incredible, illegal actions. There is much more, but I know my time is limited this morning, so I'll leave it at that. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, Commissioner? Thank you very much, Mr. Zort.
Thank you.
That concludes our public discussion items, and now we'll move into the county administrator's items. Mr. Baird. Your microphone's not on, Mr. Baird.
In the past, we have offered the stage as well as the large tent to the Fellsmere Frog Festival, and at no cost. And all we're requesting today is that they get it next to at their request. We also send about 4 light fixtures down there. And in the past we've done this. I will point out that when we did buy the tent and all the other equipment at the Mesa auction, we made a commitment that we would do this for a couple of years for Fellsmere.
Commissioners, any questions?
And how many years have we done this so far?
I think this will be our 4th year.
Any other questions, Commissioners?
Just, have we charged for this in the past, then, Joe, or not?
Not to the Fellsmere Frog Festival. And a lot of this started also because the Fellsmere Frogs Festival put a lot of money into recreation and building their ball field initially, and has put a lot of money into that community for recreation purposes, and that was the reasoning behind it.
And then, do we have any cost to the county as far as transportation or setup, or do they come pick it up and do the setup themselves?
Because the large tent we like to put up ourselves, because the tent can get hurt. We do it all. We bring all the bleachers, all the stage. We set it up ourselves, utilizing our department, our parks department, as well as the light kits. There is labor. It's already on payroll, but there is labor affiliated with it. Now, we do have a schedule. If we normally do rent this equipment to nonprofits, and I did a spreadsheet on what it would cost if we did rent it to them, and that would it's about $4,400 if I recall.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioners?
I just was wondering if, I think that they probably have an expectation that they'll get it at the same cost as last year. I'm just wondering, given the financial situation of the county, if we might not put out there today that next year when they come with their requests, they perhaps offer to at least share some of the burden.
That's not a bad idea, but if you did that, I would like to be able to offer them to purchase that they had the opportunity to purchase it at the auction whenever we did, but declined not to bid against us. That way they could purchase it or choose to lease it next year.
Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
I was there, and so was other individuals.
Yeah, I was there.
And in fact, if you'd like to make that a motion, I'd second it.
Well, with the amendment?
Yes.
Well, not being sure the cost of the tent, I'm not going to add.
Well, believe me, it was a screaming deal, and that was exactly,
The big tents, what happened is we bid on the light fixtures for our utilities and our parks were used as for both, but they were very much interested in the tents in the station.
and
the bleachers.
And had the cash to buy.
What do we pay for them?
I can't recall on each one of those, but I can get you a list. We bought a lot of items that day. Most items we bought for 20 cents on the dollar for what they were worth at the Mesa auction.
And they'd be more than willing to step up and purchase those from the county.
Or what if we continue to loan them to them, but let them use their labor to set them up and take them down?
I'm sure they wouldn't have a problem with that.
We don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I would say I don't have a problem letting them use the equipment, but I'd like to see us recover our labor costs if we're putting a lot of time and money into setting these things up and hauling them around and stuff.
The big tent takes some knowledge and skill to set up. We utilize our stuff because it could get torn, but I mean we'll talk to them if you'd like and see if we can work that out in the future. But we've done this in the past, and we've done it ever since we purchased the equipment.
In cooperation with them.
With co-op, yes.
I sure would like to make a motion, but I can't.
Well, I'll move that we waive the rental fees this year, and that going forward we structure it so that Felsmer can use the equipment, but there'll have to be some type of cost share for the labor involved in setting it up, just to reimburse the county for those out-of-pocket expenses.
I'll second that.
And of course, I would like to give them the opportunity if they could do it cheaper than the county as far as the setup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's which something tells me they may be able to do that with their volunteers that they have in place. And of course, they're trying to raise money for good causes in the community, not raise money to pay the county. Although I'm sure some people would call that a good cause in the community. But we've got a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? So got a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second from Commissioner Slaughter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll go on to the departmental matters. Nothing under departmental matters.
And then utilities.
Utilities. Item J1, 12J1.
Mr. Chairman, unless Eric feels the need to speak on this, I'll move staff recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, a second from Commissioner Flesher to approve item 12J1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. 12J2.
Mr. Chairman, same thing, unless Eric has a burning desire to speak. I'll move to staff recommendation, also just a plug. This will be helping restore some of the lost tree islands, get rid of the exotics and plant it with wetland and coastal habitat species. So I see this as moving forward and doing some good things out there. So I'll move staff recommendation.
I'll second that, and then, but I'd like to hear the discussion from Mr. Olson.
We've got a motion from Commissioner O'Brien and a second from Commissioner Flesher. Mr. Olson, welcome.
Good morning. For the record, Eric Olson, Director of Utilities. As the Commission is aware, we're moving forward with the development of the Spoonville Marsh Rest Project, and part of that process involved permitting requirements that basically stated because of some of the disruption within the Spoonville Marsh area, we were required to do mitigation. A number of discussions with DEP ended with a recommendation that we focus on the Lost Tree Islands as part of our mitigation requirement on this. And so that brings us to the point where we're facilitating the permit requirement by DEP on this.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 12J2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That moves us on to the Commissioners' matters. And under my matters, we have the sunshine. I've got something that there's been a PowerPoint presentation that's been put together that is available that I think kind of explains a little bit about the sunshine law and I'd like to have the opportunity to try to put something like that on the website, Commissioners, just so that we have committee members that whenever they're inquiring about whether or not they're going to be on our committees, that they have the opportunity to see exactly what the sunshine law is about, and to and then this will kind of give them the a little bit of understanding about what they're going into, as well as existing committee members whenever they have some concerns about whether they may be getting close to the sunshine law's edge. It'll make it available to them to be able to answer these questions, and that's really all I have here.
That's an excellent idea. Do you need a motion to that effect?
Since the chair can't make motions, I'd appreciate it.
I'd be happy to make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Solari and a second from Commissioner Flesher. Any further discussion?
Just, wasn't there a training or something last week, Bill? Because I thought some of the staff was going to something on sunshine law.
Yes, I spoke to a couple of different committees. It was the Economic Development Committee and as well as one other. It was a joint session that was held just before one of their regularly scheduled meetings. And as you know, our office is always available to address sunshine law issues with any committee. Schedule us at any time you'd like. We'd be happy to send someone there to facilitate the discussion. It's usually not a long presentation, 5 or 10 minutes to review both the open meetings requirement and the public records law, and then handle any questions and answers that the committee members might have.
And because of that, Commissioner, our attorney's office having to do it twice, not that it's any big deal, but if there's a lot of people are very comfortable being able to find that information over the internet, and clearly not wanting to put anything on the internet that does not have the board's consideration on this, but to be able to put some kind of a presentation, some kind of a background, that 5-minute spiel on there for information of those that would like to seek out their own knowledge on the internet is really what I'm asking for here.
Well, and I truly appreciate that, Mr. Chair. I realize throughout the year we have opportunities to go to seminars, and there are several that are conducted throughout the year. There's also opportunities at the FAC. I've also had the opportunity to invite the Attorney's Office to make a presentation to one of the newer committees that was established this year, and it was well received. And I believe that any further option for our committee members to truly understand and question and evaluate the sunshine law as it applies to them will be well received.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion from Commissioner Solari and a second from Commissioner Flesher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. That moves us to Commissioner Wheeler's items. Welcome, Commissioner
That's
Wheeler.
already been discussed. I was going to withdraw that under additions and deletions, but we never got to that, so I'll withdraw it now.
Well, it's a good time. Thank you. As many as additions as we had, or modifications to it, I was afraid to. Okay, now we move to the Emergency Services District. Assistance to Firefighters Grant Awards. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
This is staff recommendation.
We've got a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second from Commissioner Flesher. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Just a comment before we adjourn. I'd like to take this opportunity to commend you on running such a speedy and wonderful meeting today. Great improvement.
Commissioner, I might just wear the hat all next year if it helps that much.
Maybe it was.
And on that behalf, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to our final meeting. May I wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if there's no further business to be transacted at this time, I now declare this meeting adjourned.